Ecology PBL and giving specific instructions on how you will be doing each part. As you all know, the Ecology PBL is going to be the last thing we're going to be doing to tie up the ecology unit. And there's 3 parts, A, B, and C. Each part is going to count as a separate formative grade. So this assignment counts for 3 formative grades. As you will see, each part also comes with a specific rubric explaining how I'm going to be assessing you. For part A, you're going to be creating a food chain that could be found in Kuwait's ecosystem. I mentioned here that you can use Google Drawings, but you could also use other websites such as Canva. All right, and I'll show you a quick tutorial on how to do that at the end. So then it says it gives you 2 websites or 2 links to examples of plants and animals that could be found in Kuwait's ecosystem. So if you click on the link, you will notice that these are basically, there's several examples of plants, all right, and several examples of animals that you can find in Kuwait ecosystems. So when you are creating your food chain or a food chain, you're not going to just, for example, if you're choosing a plant as your herbivore, producer, you're not just going to write plant, okay, or you're not just going to write grass. You need to put the scientific name of the species that you're choosing. So, for example, I could choose this, all right, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It's way too complicated. But essentially, these are all the scientific names of the different types of plants that you find in Kuwait ecosystem. And if you click on the scientific name, it gives you a full description in Arabic, which I don't think you'll have a problem with. If you want to learn more about it, learn more about the plant, learn more about where it's located, its characteristics, it's all there. It's just in Arabic, but you're bilingual, so you should have no problem. Same thing with animals. If you're going to choose a specific animal, so it basically puts them in categories, right? The mammals and like carnivores or reptiles, etc. And if you're going to be choosing a specific mammal, so if let's say I'm choosing the long-eared hedgehog, you could either put the English name or the scientific name. So here it actually gives you both, and you're not just going to put like hedgehog. You're going to put the full English name or the full scientific name. And once again, you'll notice that it gives you like a full description of the animal. And again, it's in Arabic. Not unfortunately. I mean, it's our mother tongue, so there's no problem. Sometimes we have to research things in Arabic. It's not a big deal. Okay, and so that's basically where you're going to get the different organisms for your food chain from. Once you have the animals and the plant and the different organisms chosen, you're going to go ahead and put these organisms in a food chain. All right, and in order to do that, like I said, you could use Google Drawings or you could use something like Canva. If I was going to use Google Drawings, okay, so if you go to Google Drawings, oops, what is that? So if I go to Google Drawings, you'll notice there's several things that you could use here to create your food chain, right? So you could use the text box option to put the name of your organism, so autotroph, and obviously you're not going to do that because you're going to put the actual name, remember? And then you could use something like an arrow, right, to represent the energy transfer. Oops, not that. And so on and so forth. Okay, so all right, herbivore. Okay, and then we're going to copy this, paste it. Let's put, for example, omnivore. And again, I'm putting like the types of organisms. I'm not putting the exact names, but you're going to put the exact names, all right? You could also, if you go to the rubric, okay, you'll notice that you have to include pictures and names. names, all right? So if you just put the name of the organism like I did, that's not going to give you a level 4. You have to include a picture of the autotroph and of the different organisms in your food chain. And of course, you have to include a decomposer. So if I was to include a decomposer, then I would put the decomposer separate, like outside, okay? Because remember, all these organisms, when they die, their bodies end up being decomposed, and then they are broken down by the decomposer. So there should be an arrow pointing from all the organisms that you have in your food chain back to the decomposer to indicate that the decomposer essentially not feeds on, but basically breaks down all of these organisms and returns the nutrients back into the ecosystem. All right, so your food chain should look something like this. Obviously, this is not, I'm expecting way more from you. I'm expecting for this to look much nicer than this, for it to include pictures, and of course you have the rubric there to guide you. Part B says for you to create an energy pyramid for your food chain, okay? So you're going to take the food chain that you've just created and you're going to create an energy pyramid from it. And again, you could go ahead and use the shape options on Google Drawings, and you could either put this on a separate Google drawing, or you could just keep it on the same drawing. If you can fit both of them on there, that's totally fine. You can put part A and part B in the same place. And then what you're going to be doing is obviously food and energy pyramids, they have levels, right? They have these levels that we said are called trophic levels. So we're gonna go ahead and separate the energy pyramid into trophic levels. Let's assume that my food chain has 1, 2, only 3 trophic levels, right? Obviously yours will have a lot more. This is just a very simplified example. So this means that my energy pyramid is gonna have 3 trophic levels, 1, 2, and 3. So in the first trophic level, I'm going to go ahead and place my autotroph. And you see, if you put them all on the same document, it'll just be a matter of copy pasting. It's going to be so much easier for you. And then I'm going to copy paste my herbivore, because that's my second trophic level. And then my omnivore. That's like the third trophic level. Okay. And if you go back to the assignment, you'll notice that it says you have to include the trophic levels. So you have to actually label trophic level 1, trophic level 2, and the role of the organism in each level. So producer, primary consumer, and the amount of energy. And for this, you choose. Like you can begin with 1,000 units of energy, or 100, or 50, whatever. It's up to you. Obviously, it has to be somewhat realistic, so you can look at other energy pyramids out there to get an idea about how that would look like. So I'm going to go ahead and do what the assignment said. So here I'm going to write you can write T1, that's like trophic level 1, or you could write trophic level 1. Both is fine. And then T2, which means trophic level 2, and T3, or trophic level 3. All right, obviously this is like terrible for my OCD, but I'm just trying to make this as quick as possible so I'm not on here for 20 minutes. And then I'm going to go ahead, just like the assignment said. What did it say? It said to put the name, which we did, the role. So let's go ahead and do that. What did I do? Oh my god. Okay, the role. So this is a autotroph. Okay, maybe I'll like add a nice highlighter. Why not? Oops. Okay. And then this is going to be primary consumer. And this is going to be my secondary consumer. Okay, what else? Next, we have to put the amount of energy available at each level. Let's do that. So I'm going to say that on the first level, I have 1,000 kilojoules, because that's the unit of energy. And then you're going to basically figure out what happens. So if you remember, you just move the decimal point 1 point to the left, right? 1 point to the left. So that will be 100 and so on. Then make sure to include a decomposer. So I'm going to go back and just like I had before, I'm going to have this decomposer outside my energy pyramid. And I'm going to basically create a line that connects. Oh, it should be an arrow. So I'm going to go ahead and select the arrow and basically connect it back to the decomposer. Now please make sure your, it's not so like messy. Mine looks terrible right now, but I'm sure yours would look way nicer than mine. All right, so you get the idea in terms of how you're gonna essentially take all of this information from the food chain and transfer it into a energy pyramid. Again, when you're putting the names and the pictures of the organisms, you do not want to just put plant or grass. You have to put the scientific name that is present in the website that I shared with you. Let's look at the rubric. Anything we need to focus on? So it says trophic levels, more than 4 trophic levels. So that's for exceeding expectations, including the decomposer. Obviously, mine would not get a level 4 because it's 3. It's definitely more than 4 trophic levels. Each trophic level includes the name of the organism, which I did. All rows are included, which I did. Amount of energy is included, which I did. So the only thing that's really missing with mine is the fact that it was less than 4 trophic levels. All right, the last thing you want to do, part C, is you're going to write a short reflection on the human impact on our environments and how we can be more sustainable with our choices. All right, so now that you've created this food chain and food chain and energy pyramid of 2 ecosystems or 1 ecosystem that can be present in Kuwait, you're going to think about how are we as humans impacting our ecosystems? And I would really try to make this more personal. I would really focus on Kuwait. What kind of things are happening around you in Kuwait? And what kind of choices are we as humans making to impact our ecosystems? Okay, so before you begin, to just get you inspired, you can go ahead and watch this video. I've already assigned this on Google Classroom last week, so if you've already watched this, that's great. And then there's another video that I've assigned here that goes into a lot of different examples and high details in terms of human impact on the ecosystems. So you could talk about things like hunting, overhunting. Is there even I don't know if a few of you might know someone in your family, or even you might do this, hunting for sports. And I'm wondering if this is something that is regulated in Kuwait. Is there some organization that prevents people from overhunting? Are there certain species that are basically protected and you can't hunt them because they don't want them to go endangered or extinct? So hunting is one action that humans kind of do that can impact food chains and ecosystems. Water pollution is a big one. All right, does Kuwait have any laws or regulations regarding dumping unpurified water back into the ocean, in terms of littering, throwing garbage in the ocean? Are our oceans clean? Are our oceans protected? So water pollution due to human activity is also another big impact, especially in Kuwait, because after oil, fishery, okay, is one of the biggest industries in Kuwait, right? There's a lot of natural fish that live in the waters of the Gulf Sea and Kuwait's ocean and sea waters, sorry, and that's something that needs to be protected. Air pollution, that's a big one, right? How think of sources of air pollution in Kuwait, and basically, again, how is that impacting the ecosystem? Overfishing. And just like we can look at it from a more macro view, like as a worldwide thing, climate change, right? So it might not be something that's just happening in Kuwait, it's happening all over the world, but definitely we can see the effects trickle into every single area on our planet, including Kuwait. And then you have to give specific examples. So what I mean by that is you can't just say overhunting destroys ecosystems. Okay, how? And if we look at your food chain, the one that you've created, how would overhunting impact your food chain? So if I was looking at my food chain, I would mention that the overhunting of the herbivore would affect the population of omnivores, and because they would have less to eat, right? So I could just give very specific examples from my ecosystem, from my food chain that I've created. Don't just give me a general example or a general statement without backing it up with evidence from your food chain. The last part is you're going to define sustainability. What is sustainability? And what are some examples of sustainable choices? So if we go back to that hunting example, how can we hunt sustainably? One thing we could mention is having laws and regulations. Basically giving people permits. You have to purchase a permit in order to be able to hunt. You can't just like grab a gun and go to the desert and start shooting birds. You have to apply for a permit, get the permit, and then like if you break the law, if you're shooting or hunting without permits, you would be fined, you'd go to jail, something. Okay, so this is what we mean by sustainable. We can't avoid certain human activities. Just existing on this planet, we're going to affect it, right? It's just it's inevitable. We can't avoid it, but we can have this impact happen in a more sustainable way, meaning that we use the planet's resources, and we exist with other organisms in a sustainable manner. All right, so part C, I'm giving you really freedom in terms of how you can present this. You could either just write a reflection on a Google Doc. You could create a video or an audio recording, like reflection with you recording yourself speaking about these issues. Or you could create a Google slide presentation. And of course, I have a rubric for part C. That's how I'm going to be assessing you. I made a mistake with these numbers here, so those will change when I assign the assignment. And so you'll see that it will not be out of 4, it'll be out of 10. Okay, what else did I want to mention? Oh, please make sure that for parts A, B, and C, when you're submitting your work, do not share it with me on email as usual. Please attach it to the assignment, okay? And you should already know how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, please contact me and I will be more than happy to help you. Anything else? I think that is it. You will have till Saturday night to submit this work, so more than enough time. And as usual, if you have any questions, please make sure that you contact me for help. All right, good luck. I am really excited to see your submissions.